Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Lex Luthor in his power suit, and this is the gold label collection variant. This is essentially going to be Lex Luthor when he was on the Justice League, and that is definitely not my preferred version of Lex Luthor. I don't like when he's trying to play the hero. He's always going to be a villain in my eyes. This is a Target exclusive. I've been checking and checking. They said it was arriving today. And sure enough, they had 3 of them when I went in. So let's go and check out the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane toys, ages 12 plus. It's a McFarlane gold label collection variant. DC Multiverse, Lex Luthor in power suit. Here he is in the package. Doesn't look like he has any accessories. I think there's a flight stand back there and a collector's card. One side of the package, Lex Luthor in his power suit from DC's Rebirth. Other side, Lex Luthor in his power suit. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Luthor posed up, and here are a bunch of other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures you should check out. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He doesn't come with any character-specific traditional accessories, but he has a flight stand and a collector's card. But before we look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is an evil genius. He's one of those powerful men in the world, at least until Superman showed up. That always frustrated him. He always uses evil genius to try to outsmart and thwart Superman. Sometime in the Rebirth, Superman quote-unquote died. Lex Luthor decided to fill in. He's got this power suit, big Superman logo on his chest, big red cape. He was being the Man of Steel for a while. I don't personally like when Lex Luthor plays hero. And when I say plays hero, I mean just that. He plays hero and almost always has some evil scheme going on behind the scenes. So let's take a look at him. The figure here should be pretty much the same as a previously released power suit Lex Luthor. Head looks good, bald, little bit of side eyes going on, looking to the left, eyebrows raised up, face very stern, serious, I like it. The suit itself looks pretty good, a ton of detail all over it, all these different parts, wires, different texturing, it looks nice. Superman logo, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, big red Superman type cape. Like I said, this is definitely not my preferred look for Lex Luthor. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt, it's very well done. Has that signature Lex Luthor look to him. Now my Lex Luthor is not without his flaws. The paint on his boots is rather sloppy. You can see a piece missing on the front there. And the top, just not quite as clean as I'd like, which is unusual. McFarlane usually has pretty good paint jobs, although they definitely don't do their sculpts justice. Usually not quite this sloppy. And he also has on the top of his head a little bit of a gash there. It's right in the center of his forehead. It's very noticeable by the naked eye, but not so much on camera. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. It's a transparent flight stand. It comes in 2 separate pieces. You can use just the bottom part of the stand as a typical display stand, standing on the peg. And when the 2 pieces are put together, it'll look like this. The bottom is a clear circle. It says DC down there. It's got 1 peg for the peg holes on their feet. Then it's got this post that goes up to the top. The top here, it's hinged. It can rotate. And it has this clamp to hold your figure in place. Here's Lex Luthor, utilizing the flight stand. Now let's look at his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Lex Luthor in his power suit, flying through the skies. Lex Luthor in his power suit from DC's Rebirth. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Here's this version of Lex Luthor in his power suit's collector's card, next to the standard green version's collector's card. And then Lex Luthor in his blue power suit, the Darkseid version. Now I wanted to check out the reuse between all 3 of these Lex Luthor figures. Now, the green one and the Darkseid version, there's a ton of reuse. pretty much the exact same figure except for a different head and some different forearm armor. That being said, these two are almost the exact same figure. The forearm armor is different, the chest logo, and actually the head is the same. Yeah, he has a cape attached, but as far as these two goes, it is literally the same figure from head to toe. The head is different, the cape is different, that is it. They were able to crank out 3 different Lex Luthor figures with almost the exact same tooling. But you know what? It works. These are all 3 different legitimate versions for the comics. Although me personally, the green power suit version is my favorite by far. Now I want to do a head swap with a McFarlane Superman figure onto this armored Superman body. My boy Z-Pad asked me if I could do a head swap with Superman and this Lex Luthor, and it makes sense. Superman in an armored suit. He doesn't really need it, but he does wear it from time to time in the comics. Here's this Lex Luthor with the Action Comics number 1000 Superman. Here's how that Superman would look onto the armored Lex Luthor power suit body. Actually looks pretty cool. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.0 inches tall, which is going to translate to a hair under 18 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Start with his head here. Of course, it can rotate from side to side. You can look up that far, which is pretty nice, down that far. Should be able to get him to a nice flying pose with his head looking forward. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other, giving him good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint. Goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees. The shoulder pads are soft, they just move right out of the way. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area. He increased the range of motion and cover up that gap. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrists can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Although mine is not trying to budge. There it goes. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another ball joint his waist, rotate around, forward and back, giving him pretty good range of motion in his torso area. Not getting too much out of this, but a lot more out of that. Legs completely does the splits. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation is pretty minimal. They do go in, at least somewhat. Legs go forward about that far. Back, not too much. Double jointed knees below that. Then his ankle here has a ball in it. Forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and he has toe articulation. Here's Lex Luthor in his office at LexCorp. As always, he's planning something nefarious. After business hours, he goes down below, under LexCorp, in his secret lab. He's getting ready to put on his power suit. And as usual, Lex is met by Superman. He plans to foil whatever Lex's plan is. Lex Luthor pulls out some kryptonite. He has Superman completely disabled right now. Months later, Lex Luthor finds out Superman is dead. He's looking at his power suit. He's contemplating what he should do. Take over Metropolis? Take over the world? No. He'll join the Justice League and become the Man of Steel himself. A great way to feed his ego. And then here's Lex Luthor, self-declared hero of Metropolis, self-declared Man of Steel, trying to do right by the people. But you always know there's something else in his mind. Something nefarious. Something behind the scenes. Now let's check them out next to some other action figures. Starting off with some other Lex Luthor figures. Here are all of my McFarlane DC Multiverse Lex Luthor figures. I hope they give us one in a business suit in the future. And then, next to my DC Direct Lex Luthor figures. And here, with all my Mattel Lex Luthor figures. Here are all my different various Lex Luthor action figures. Like I said before, really hoping McFarlane will give us that classic look of Lex in a business suit. Now let's check them out, next to some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here are all 3 variations of Lex Luthor. Here's this Lex Luthor, next to the Action Comics 1000 Superman. Then, next to the Rebirth Superman. Next to the DC Cinematic Universe Henry Cavill Superman. And here, next to the Batman The Dark Knight Returns Superman. Here's Lex, next to the John Kent Superboy. Lex Luthor can play the role as a Superman ally or supporting character. He can also be on display with your villains. Here he is, next to Superboy Prime, General Zod, Devastator, Ultraman, and Bizarro. Now let's check him out, next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the two most recent Mega figures, Man-Bat and Killer Croc. Then, next to the Batman vs. Hush 2-pack. And here he is, next to Ghostmaker and the single release of Hush. Then, with Red Robin and the John Kent Superboy. And now, with the Batman Who Laughs dressed as Batman, and the Entertainment Earth exclusive glow-in-the-dark Batman Beyond. And here, next to the Crime Syndicate's Ultraman and Superwoman. Then with Grifter and the Arkham Knight. Here's Lex, next to the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive unmasked versions of the Zernar Batman and the Infinite Frontier Robin. Then, next to TV's Flash and comic Godspeed. And here, next to the most recent Injustice 2 figures, Green Arrow and Reverse Flash. Then, next to the Wally West Flash and the all-gold Anti-Crisis Wonder Woman. And finally, next to the gold label Todd McFarlane designed Wonder Woman variant and the gold label Proper Mask Catwoman from the Batman. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, we'll check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to some more McFarlane Toys, these are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. Here, with some NECA figures. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, with some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, with some Mafex figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's a pretty nice figure, but is it a necessary figure? I asked the same question about the Darkseid Lex Luthor figure. I mean, it's a nice figure, but I sure don't need it. I am not a big fan of Lex Luthor in the Armored Superman Justice League hero costume. Just not the role he should be playing. At least that's my 2 cents. The green suit, power suit Lex Luthor is absolutely fantastic. That is the best one. Probably going to say this is the next best one, and the Darkseid version is the worst. I passed on the Mattel Build-A-Figure Multiverse version of this guy. Just doesn't really do much for me. I got this one because I'm getting everything in the McFarlane DC Multiverse line. If I had to rate this figure, I'm probably going to give him a 6.5 out of 10. Just not necessary. I'll give the green suit version 8 out of 10, and the Darkseid version probably a 6. Probably lower than I initially rated it, but those are my current thoughts. That being said, this is a nice figure. He looks good. The Lex Luthor head, the armored suit, it all works together very nicely. His accessories are non-existent, and that was disappointing. Articulation is everything you'd expect from a McFarlane DC Multiverse figure, but he's missing all the new upgrades. Sculpt and paint job are good, although very sloppy on the shins. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.